Hi there, and welcome once again. We're looking at function algebra and function composition. Function algebra refers to something like f plus g. They could ask you to do f plus g like this, or they could say f plus g of x, and that would mean the same thing, or they could ask you to do f of x plus g of x. All of this means exactly the same thing. You would just take your f, which is 3x minus 5, and then you would add to it x minus 2. There's your f, there's your g. Just add them together and simplify. 4x minus 7. And there is some function algebra adding two functions together. Another thing they could have asked you to do is f minus h, and they could have asked it like that. They could have said f of x minus h of x. They could have said f minus h of x. Any one of those meaning the same thing. Now this is the one students will typically get wrong, because they'll write the 3x minus 5 correctly. But then when you're supposed to minus off the entire h, they neglect to put in those parentheses showing that we are going to subtract the entire h and not just the term that happens to come first. I'm subtracting all of h and then combining like terms. Let's see, that would be minus 3x squared. I'm going to write him down. Let's see, I've got 3x's here. And this minus 11x is going to be a plus 11x. So 11x and then 3x, I guess that's 14x's. Minus 5 and then a minus a 10, that's going to be minus 15. So you can see where it'd be really easy not to distribute this minus, and then you get one of these wrong, and of course XYZ will count you entirely wrong. So be careful about that. Make sure that you distributed your minuses. They could have also said, what is f minus h, let's say, of 0? And that just means you find f minus h, and you just minus 3 times 0 squared plus 14 times 0 minus 15. Do that computation, and you would get negative 15. Now this means that you could have done f of 0 and h of 0 and just subtracted those two answers. You would have gotten the same thing. Let's just look at that just because we can. Minus h of 0. F of 0, I go up to f, plug in a 0, so that would be, let's see, 3 times 0, 0, minus 5, so that would be minus 5. And then I would say minus my h of 0, plugging in a 0 here for x, I would get that it's 10, and then you would notice you still get minus 15, whichever way you do it. So we've looked at function algebra with adding and subtracting. Next we'll do multiply and divide. All right, let's look at f times g. They might write it like that. They might write fg, and then they could put the of x in here if they want to, but they don't have to. They could write f of x times g of x. However it is that they ask it of you is just going to mean 3x minus 5 times x minus 2. So what you're going to need to do is multiply this out, get our 3x squared, minus 6x minus 5 is minus 11x, negative 5 times a minus 2 is add 10. So there's my answer for that bad boy. Let's look at a division problem. They're the ones that are a little bit different. We'll look at h over g of x. And of course, that could be written all sorts of different ways too. We could do it. It could be written like that. Let's write our h, 3x squared minus 11x plus 10 over x minus 2. Now this is our function. It might simplify a little bit, so I need to look at that. But I also need to note that provided x is not equal to 2, because if x were 2, this thing would have a 0 in the denominator and it would be undefined, and we can't have that. But let me see if this numerator factors. Let's see, 3x and an x minus. Oh yeah, 2, that would be minus 6, 5. Okay, I think this will factor in here. 3x squared, yeah, minus 6x minus 5x is minus 11x. There's my plus 10. And if you'll notice, my denominator for this one cancels out, but that still doesn't negate the fact that I have to say this is 3x minus 5, where x is not equal to 2, because my original functions that I was working with says that x can't be 2. So I do need to make that little specification. Next up, we're going to look at some function composition. Now that can be written, oops, let me get my brush. That can be written a couple of different ways. F of g is one way it could be written. It could be written f of g of x. They could write it like, and this is my favorite way. In fact, I pretty much rewrite it every time like this. That way I can see exactly what x is. So here is what x is right here. My x is actually this g of x. So this is putting a function inside of another function. The main function, the big boy, is f, and it looks like 3 times whatever x is minus 5. So I usually use parentheses to demonstrate this. Then, in place of x, I'm going to put this g here, and g is x minus 2. So in place of x, I'm writing x minus 2. This is called function composition. Then simplify. 3x minus 11. And that's all I would do for that one. Let's look at, just to see what it would equal, let's look at g of f. So g of f would then be x minus 2. In place of x, I'm going to put f, and f is 3x minus 5. 3x minus 5. And then I would simplify. So this one is going to be 3x minus 7. I want you to note that f of g and g of f are not the same thing. So function composition is not commutative. All right, I want to do one more for you. I want to do one where we have h of, let's say, f. So I want to do h of f of x. I usually rewrite this so that it's h of, because he's the big dog, and then I write f of x little so that I know that what's inside of here, there's my x. So I make this thing look like h. 3 times x squared minus 11 times x plus 10. Wherever there's an x, I put parentheses. Inside those parentheses, I'm going to put what f is. So that's 3x minus 5. Now, wherever I have an x, I put a 3x minus 5. And now it's a matter of simplifying. So this is a very notational section. You really got to understand what this notation means. And oh my goodness, I've got to do 3x minus 5 squared. I'm going to do that out to the side somewhere. Let's just do that down here. 3x minus 5 squared, because you've got to multiply this all the way out. So this one is, don't forget to multiply it entirely and get 9x squared minus 15. Minus 15 is minus 30x plus 25. Okay, what a pain that one is, but these are a little bit longer, which is why I chose one of these. So just plugging in what I got there. minus, and now I'm going to distribute here, 33x minus times minus is plus 55 plus 10. All right. Then I'm going to distribute here 27x squared minus 90x, yeah, plus 75 minus 33x plus, I'm going to go ahead and add these 65. All right, and move that other thing. Okay. Just simplifying, got that other thing out of my way. 27x squared minus 90 minus 33 is minus 1, 2, 3x, I think. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, then plus 140. Ooh, that's a big old long messy one. But that's what these are like. You're going to do add, subtract, multiply, divide. They could have also asked you to do like f of, let's say, f of 0. If they would have asked that, you would have just extended this to plugging in zeros, and you would have gotten that this is 27 times x squared, which is 0, minus 1, 2, 3 times 0. So if they would have asked this, which would have extended the problem a little bit further, then you would have gotten 140. So you just do the same thing as I did up here for the top one. It's just if they ask you to put in a number, you go ahead and find it, and then you just put in the number. All right, well, if you have any questions about any of these, or you just want some help with a particular problem, do not hesitate to send me an email, and y'all just have a wonderful day.